Shabbat Shalom to all the scattered nation of Israel, all the pilgrims and strangers scattered abroad. In the name of the Father, Yah, in the name of his Son, Messiah, who we call Yahweh Shah, greetings and blessings to all who are seeking the Spirit of Yah for his righteousness in order to render him obedience to his covenant and be prepared to receive his seal in their foreheads. Greetings to all of you. The first time I heard or was conscious of the word heritage, the first time I was conscious of it, I heard it from some Caucasian people, and I heard it regarding the Confederate flag and what they called their heritage. I heard a speech by a man that was once governor of the state of Mississippi. And there was a football game, apparently it was a homecoming football game at the University of Mississippi. This was many years ago, probably more than 50 years ago. And the governor gave a speech, and he said, and as the Confederate flag was waving, he said that he's proud to be a Mississippian and that he's proud of what he said was his heritage. So tonight, we're looking at Isaiah chapter 51, and we're going to talk about heritage. I looked the word up. It's really, there's two words that are in the King James Bible in the Old Testament with regard to heritage. One is nakalah, which means to inherit, to possess and to inherit. And there's another word that's used only once in Exodus chapter 6, verse 8. I actually forgot what that one was, but it also means to be a possession, to obtain a possession. So they're very similar. But the one that's used the most is nakalah, for to possess or to inherit. So when I wondered at the time when I first heard it what it meant, because I noticed that the Caucasians like to use that term, especially with regard to the Confederate flag. They said it's part of their heritage. So I wanted to know, what is heritage? What does that mean? Part of our heritage. And as I found out, it's something that is inherited from the past, from your forefathers, something you inherited from your forefathers. That really caused me concern about the people that were saying this Confederate flag was their heritage, because the Confederate flag, as we mostly know, was created by the Confederacy, and the Confederacy represented a group of states from mostly the southern part of what we call the United States that wanted to separate from the northern states, and they called themselves Confederate. And one of the issues, people bring up different issues. The code that the Caucasians will use to bring up is called states' rights, but the real issue was slavery. Because the wealthy people in the South, not all the Southerners, but the wealthy ones in the South, had a wealth that was built on the backs of slaves. Okay? They sold tobacco, they sold cotton, and in the islands, of course, they sold sugar, molasses, and things like brandy. And they sold these things to the Europeans mostly, Britain, France, Germany. They sold these things to these people. And then, of course, they also produced your common crops, your grains and your corn and your vegetables. And they also raised livestock, your beef. chicken, eggs. And even people in the North profited, of course, from these industries. So the rich people in the South did not want to give up the cash cow, the free labor they were getting on the backs of slaves, the wealth that would be passed down to the generations all the way to that man says, I think his name was Barnett, that the Confederate flag represented their heritage or their inheritance. So in other words, their inheritance was built on the back of the Israelite. Their inheritance was built because that's the flag, he said, was a symbol of their heritage. So their inheritance was built on oppression and death and rape and exploitation. Well, at least the man was honest. It was his heritage. And you know what? The heritage of almost every wealthy person in the United States is built on the same thing. And anyone, see, oppression and exploitation are not of the Spirit of the Father. And all wealth that is inherited in such a way is going to be taken away from those who got it. Okay? Wealth gotten by ill-gotten gains, we taken away and given to others. Which brings us to tonight's point. What is the heritage of the former slave? What is the heritage of Eidos, according to the word of the Most High? We'll discuss that today. And this is the thing, brothers and sisters. All of us are a product of heritage, whether we want to be or not. So, for example, the George Floyd murder is just one example of what we know to be thousands of Eidos that have been murdered within the borders of the United States of America. George Floyd is one of thousands. Of course, we know about also Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and others who have been murdered just in the recent history. So that what we are experiencing, we understand to be the oppression that we are experiencing is a result of our heritage. It is a result of us being brought into captivity because of the sins of our fathers. Also, though, we have a goodly heritage, the Bible says, in that we're going to be freed from our captivity. In fact, let's take a look. Let's take a look at Exodus chapter 6. Exodus chapter 6. This is the Most High. After he explained to Moses, he said, Ahaya, Ahaya. And after he told Moses, I'm going to send you down to help free my people, he said this to him in Exodus chapter 6. I'm going to begin at verse 1. Going to begin at verse 1, and I'm going down to verse 8. Exodus chapter 6, from verse 1 to verse 8. Then said Yahweh unto Moses, Now shalt thou see what I will do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And the Most High spake unto Moses and said unto him, I am Yahweh, and I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob by Al Shaddai. That is God Almighty in the King James. That's Al Shaddai. He appeared to Isaac and to Abraham and to Jacob by the name Al Shaddai. But by my name, Yahweh was I not known to them. Let me explain real quick. You will see the name Yahweh in Genesis. You will see the name Yahweh all through the books of Moses. But you must understand they are the books of Moses. Moses learned his name. So as he wrote Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, he knew their name. But what the Most High is explaining to him is that the previous prophets, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, among whom we are the bloodline, they didn't know his name. They didn't know him by Yahweh. They knew him by Al Shaddai. He said, they call unto me by the name Al Shaddai. But by my name, he said, Yahweh, I was not known unto them. Okay. Verse 4. And I have also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, wherein they were strangers. And I have also heard the groaning. Listen now. I've also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage. And I have remembered my covenant. Wherefore, say unto the children of Israel, I am Yahweh, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a God, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh, your Most High, which bringeth you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I will bring you into the land, unto the land concerning which I did swear to give it to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And I will give it you for an heritage. I am Yahweh. This is way more powerful than most people understand. Way more. The Bible does say, and we read it already in Isaiah. Let's look at Isaiah real quick. I'm going to come right back here because we're not leaving here for a second before we get to Isaiah 51. But I want to look at Isaiah. Let's see. I'm going to start at Isaiah chapter 10. I'm going to start at Isaiah chapter 10. And just to look at this now, talking about heritage, the heritage of the Most High Yah's chosen. Get some more light here. It's a little dark. The heritage of the Most High Yah's chosen. Okay. And let's read chapter 10. I'm going to read chapter 10. I'm going to begin at verse 20 and go down to verse 24. Isaiah chapter 10, 20 to 24. Remember what we just read when he told Moses about delivering our fathers out of Egypt. Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Isha and Brother David. Remember what he just said. Watch this now. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel that keep the commandments of Yah and the testimony of the Messiah, Yahweh Shah, the one that the dragons enraged with, that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty Most High. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. And for the Most High Yahweh of hosts shall make a consumption even determined in the midst of all the land. Therefore thus saith Yahweh of hosts, watch this now, O my people that dwelleth in Zion, be not afraid of the Assyrian. He shall smite thee with a rod, and shall lift up his staff against thee after the manner of Egypt. He's talking about deliverance, and he's talking about after the manner of Egypt. And we just read what the deliverance is like in Egypt, talking about our heritage. Isaiah chapter 11. I'm going to go Isaiah chapter 11. I'm going to start at verse 12, and I'm going to go down to verse 16. Isaiah chapter 11, from verse 12 to verse 16. Watch what it says. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel. Watch this. And gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. The adversaries, that is those that oppress and afflict Judah, shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And Yahweh shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea with his mighty wind. He shall shake his hand over the river and smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over dry shod. And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day when he came up out of the land of Egypt. See how he keeps comparing the deliverance of his chosen people at the end to the deliverance of Israel from Egypt? Why? Because it's a parallel. Okay, let's go back now to Exodus chapter 6. Okay, let's read again. Let's read again. I'm going to read verse 4. Let me read from verse 1 again. I'm going to read from verse 1. Let's read again after we read the other two scriptures. Understanding there's a parallel. Understanding there's a parallel. Okay? And let me tell you, I just want to make sure we reiterate this. This is not for all nations. This is for Israel. Somebody, again, I know the Caucasians are concerned. But those Caucasians, at least the ones that I have taught, they understand that they also are partakers of this inheritance when they receive this truth now. They understand that. See? So y'all Caucasians that are of the heritage of Germany and Poland and France and Italy, you know when you come to this truth, you in the nation. You are the strangers among us. So you receive the promise. Okay? Those that are coming now. There are those going to come later under duress, taken as slaves. But that's a different story. So all Israel will be saved. Okay? Again, chapter 6. But we mainly, of course, talking about the bloodline because it's to what? The Jew first, right? Exodus chapter 6. Let's read it again from verse 1 to 8. Then Yahweh said unto Moses, now shalt thou see what I will do unto Pharaoh. See, Pharaoh was Egypt. Who's Pharaoh now? It's Rome. It's the Vatican City, and it's the controlling power of the Roman power that controls both governments and religion on a worldwide scale. So most people don't even recognize it, don't even know what's going on. So caught up in garbage. But they control all religion. They control all politics and all business. Again, we just happen to be in the year of a presidential election. I want you to take note. Watch what I say to you. Every presidential election, both the candidates end up meeting with officials from the church, from the Roman Catholic Church. First, they have a meeting where they all wear white and they tell jokes and such. And then they have a private meeting with Archbishop of New York. And then once they're elected, the winner and his family, they go to meet the Pope. Every president. Pay attention now. Because most of the world is not paying attention. But we are not most of the world. We are the Israelite people. So Pharaoh now is the Babylonian system led by the Vatican City and the Pope, and their controlling powers over the business, over the money, over the Illuminati, with the Ashkenazis, over all the religion. See, people say we might be coming into a one world government. We already in a world war government, baby. You got to wake up. We already in it. It ain't coming. It's here. It's already here. Then I heard somebody say, well, we might be in a cashless, we might be going toward a cashless society. We're already here. Just yesterday, the other day, I'm riding, just as an aside, and I'm going to pull up to a light. And I see a woman. They call, she's holding a sign, homeless, just out of the hospital. Anything you could give will help. And I ain't got a dime in my pocket. Now, I got a couple of dollars, but they're in my card. I'm so used to walking without cash, I don't even think about it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I walk without cash everywhere. I don't even think about it. And it came to me. And I had to consciously say, you know what? I'm going to have to go to the bank and take out a little money and keep it in my car so that when I run into such people, I can give them $1 or $2, because we already in a cashless society. We don't even think about it. Every place I go, it's either my debit card or my credit card that I'm using. It's cashless. When I want to know how much money I got, I look online or on my phone, and I look at my bank account. That's telling me how much money is there. Really what it is credits, because you don't see dollars. Okay, you can still use dollars, but I want to tell you, in the area I live here, outside of DC, most people don't use it. Most people don't use it. Okay, and I think it's going to be like that everywhere. And it's not. And that's how. Let me just explain to you real quick. That's how the world order does things. They don't have to force you. They have you begging for it. See, people think that they're going to be forcing you to go to cashless. No, they didn't force me to do that. It's more convenient. Okay, I don't have to carry a wallet of cash. I have a little cards in the wallet. That's it. And so when that person was asking for help on the street while I'm at the stoplight, I couldn't reach out my car and give them my debit card, right? I mean, that's how it is. So we don't understand. We're already in a one world system. We're already in a one world government. We're already in a one world religion. People don't understand. And the only religions that get persecuted are the ones that are outside the mainstream. Okay? And it's going to get worse. So Pharaoh here, he said, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do to Pharaoh. He's gonna show us what he's gonna do to this whole Babylonian system. That's the last 7 plagues of Revelation chapter 16. Okay. For with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And the Most High spake unto Moses and said unto him, I am Yahweh, and I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob by the name of Al Shaddai. But by my name, Yahweh, was I not known to them. And I have also established my covenant with them. He's established his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's why it's important for us to understand we are the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's why it's important to understand the reason we've been so hard punished is because he has established his covenant with us. He has not forgotten that covenant. And that's why as long as we forget the covenant, we are still under the punishment. When we are now, according to his promise of his word, awakening, we are now with him back in covenant relationship. Therefore, we get his protection. We don't have his protection when we're outside his covenant. I'm going to say that again. We don't have his protection when we're outside his covenant. And since we've been in captivity, as the Most High foreknew, we became so ignorant. I mean, ignorance is heavy upon the children of Israel right now. We became so ignorant, we do not even know who we were. We don't know what our name used to be. We don't know nothing about our past. And we just begging. It's almost like we orphans begging any other culture to accept us. Like an orphan with no parents. Begging any other culture, accepting any other culture because we don't have one. And now, under this awakening, people are now reaching for their culture. Some are reaching into Africa. Okay, that's been happening now for about 50 years. But most of us that are really awoke are understanding we Israelites and reaching back to our what? Heritage, the covenant that the Most High made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He have established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, wherein they were strangers. I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel. See, remember now, Ezekiel chapter 9. We went over this a few weeks ago. Ezekiel chapter 9 set a mark on the foreheads of those that sigh and that cry for the abomination done thereof. See, brothers and sisters, some people get the mark in their hand because they just want to go along with the flow. They don't want to lose their house, their business. They want to lose their credit. They want to lose their job. So they go with the flow. They will sell out their mother to keep their stuff. Then there's those that have the mark in their forehead that are given over to the spirit of Asatan, completely given over to the worldwide power, to the one world government, to the one world system of religion, completely given over. And they are actually pushing forth its agenda. But Yah's people only receive the mark in their foreheads that is related to his character, his name, his covenant. And they're completely given over to his glory, completely given over to his glory and his agenda. I've heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage. The Egyptians now are Gog and Magog. We did a video just 2 nights ago, the 144,000 versus Gog and Magog. It's Gog and Magog that are keeping us in bondage. The Catholic Church, the Vatican City, that's Gog and Magog. Why? Gog and Magog, we found out the other night from Genesis chapter 5, originates in the Germanic tribes of Europe. So does Christianity. Why do you think they brought forth a white Jesus? Why do you think they brought forth a whole Christian denomination, whole Christian doctrine that cuts off the whole prophets of the Old Testament and says this is the new covenant? There's no law except the one we give. Why do you think they did that? Because they created their own thing out of the imagination of their heart from the inspiration of Asatana. The Christian God has never helped us. We've been worshiping him in this land for 400 years. He has never helped us. But let me give you the good news, the real good news. As we surrender back to our Father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as we surrender back to his covenant, he's going to deliver us. He's going to protect us. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. Wait a minute. I want to make sure you'll hear that one because, this is important, especially in this day and age of COVID-19. Could you guys hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. You hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Let me tell you something. When he says, that is, when Yah said, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. I want to ask you a rhetorical question. What do I mean by a rhetorical question? I mean, don't answer it. Answer it in your heart. When he says to you, the Israelite, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, do you believe him? That's a rhetorical question. Do you believe him? Because that takes faith. And if you believe him and you understand who you are as an Israelite and you know your deliverance is coming and you seek obedience to his covenant, guess what? COVID can't hurt you. I wear the mask out of respect for the laws. I don't want some Karen walking up to me talking about, where's your mask? So I put the mask on. You understand? I put the mask on, but I ain't worried about no COVID. Listen, brothers and sisters, what's the worst that can happen? I'll die. I don't want to die. I mean, it's natural for us to want to live. The most I put that in our hearts. But we at war, brothers and sisters. And if I got to be a casualty of war, okay. Because I know what my inheritance is. Do you know what yours is? Testing 1, 2, 3. Do you understand who you serve and what the inheritance is that you're going to get? Do you understand that? It should be before us every single day. Every single day, brothers and sisters. It should be in our minds the kingdom that's coming and how this whole system is about to be destroyed. It should be before our minds that we are inheriting heritage, a kingdom that's going to last forever, even forever and ever and ever, where there'll be no more death. So what you worry about COVID if the Most High says, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Matter of fact, Messiah said, you shall drink a deadly thing, it shall not hurt you. This is not just for anybody. This is for the servants of Yah who are trusting in his covenant, who are now awakening as to who they are and understand who your fathers were. If you don't have the covenant, you can't have the protection. Testing 1, 2, 3. Why do you think the devil is so busy trying to teach our people in these churches that there's no law? Why do you think he's using people that look like us to teach it? To withdraw the protection. That's the only thing that saves us, brothers and sisters. The Father sent Messiah to save us, to say to us, what did he say? He's going to confirm the covenant. Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. He's going to confirm the covenant. That is, confirm that we understand and he understands that we're supposed to be in covenant relationship. And that represents obedience. And that obedience cannot come about without the spirit of righteousness, which is the gospel. I am not ashamed of the gospel of Messiah, for it is the power of Yah unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. For therein is the righteousness of Yah revealed. There you go. That's the everlasting gospel. That's the key for the Israelite salvation, because that's the key that gets us in obedience and harmony with his covenant. And that, brothers and sisters, that takes his arm and starts to say, deliverance time. And when the Father say, deliverance time, and we already know, we've already studied. The only thing Father is concerned with right now is the seal of the 144,000. Deliverance time. Don't worry about no COVID. I'm not saying go out there and act a fool. Like I said, I put the mask on. You know, I put the mask on when I go. I put the mask on when I go to the store. I don't want anybody telling me nothing. I ain't taking no shot. I can tell you that right now. Now, I'm going to leave that to y'all individual conscience. You could take it and say it ain't going to hurt me. That's fine. I'm not taking no shot. I'm just saying. Okay. They can come out and do whatever they want. Okay. But I'm not worried about no COVID. And if they tied me down and shot me with something, I'm not worried about that either. See, we serve, I believe, let me put it this way. I believe I serve the most powerful entity in the universe. That this man, this being, we call this supreme being, we call Yah, who Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob called Al Shaddai, that there's nothing more powerful than him. And if he's with me, if he decided to cover me under the almighty of his wings, of the shadow of his wings, I'm not worried about what flesh could do to me. I'm not worried about man's diseases. I'm not scared like they scared of stuff. It's our heritage. Our heritage. Okay, let's continue. I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Wherefore, say unto the children of Israel, I am Yahweh. I am Yahweh. You know who he is? And I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians and Babylon. And I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I will take you to me for a people. See, we are Yah's heritage. We are his heritage. Therefore, we are what he is, inheriting as a result of perfect righteousness. So he's going to take to us for a people. And I will be to you a most high. That's our inheritance. Part of it. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh, your most high, which bringing you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I will bring you in unto the land. We're going to get to that right now. The land concerning the which I did swear to give it to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. and I will give it to you for an heritage. I am Yahweh. The land. The land. A geographic area on planet Earth. It's a geographic area on planet Earth. It is an area that is carved out specifically for the children of Israel. What makes it so special, though? I mean, there's some beautiful land all over the place. Why is he carving out a specific piece of real estate for his chosen people of the bloodline? What is it about that land? Let me share. Ezekiel. Let's look at Ezekiel. One thing about the land, Ezekiel chapter 48. Ezekiel chapter 48. Watch what it say here. All I need to do is read the last verse of the last chapter of Ezekiel. Watch this. Ezekiel 48, verse 35. Okay, ready? This is talking about the city that's on the land. It was round about 18,000 measures. And the name of the city from that day shall be Yahweh is there. What makes this land so special? Yahweh is there. Messiah is there. When he brings his kingdom to existence, Yahweh is there. That's the name of the city. That's another name for New Jerusalem. Yahweh is there. Wait a minute. Why are we in Ezekiel? Why else? Let's look at Ezekiel chapter, a couple chapters back. Let's see. Ezekiel. There's so much here. Hold on one second. Ezekiel chapter 47. From the same place, from the land, Ezekiel chapter 47, talking about the land, right? Ezekiel 47, I'll begin at verse 9. I'm going to begin at verse 8. There's a river flowing from the land. A river flowing from the land. And I'm going to go verse 8 and 9. Ezekiel 47, 8 and 9. Watch what it say. Watch what it say. And then he said unto me, these waters issue out toward the east country and go down into the desert and go into the sea, which being brought forth into the sea, the waters shall be healed. And it shall come to pass that everything that liveth, which moveth, whithersoever the river shall come, shall live. And there shall be a very great multitude of fish, because of these waters shall come thither, for they shall be healed. For everything shall live, whither the river cometh, a river of life that comes out of the city, heals everything it touches and gives life to everything. That's why that place is special. That's our heritage. That's where we're going to dwell. That's the capital of the earth and the center of the universe. See? Right now, filth dwells on it. It's okay, though. He's going to just stomp out the filth. We're going to read that in Isaiah chapter 63 when we get there. He's going to stomp out the filth, destroy the Edomites from there. And he's going to have his heritage, us, on that place. He's going to set up the river of life that comes out of that place. He's going to set up the New Jerusalem on that place. It's going to be called Yahweh is there. That's our heritage. That's what we're going to have. That's what we're going to inherit. That's why, brothers and sisters, we must trust in our God. We must have, listen, I'm going to use this word perfection again. We believe in a God that is perfection. He is perfection in truth. He is perfection in love. And most of all, he is perfection in righteousness. We must match that. Listen, wait a minute. Listen to me now. We must match that perfection. Can you hear me? We must match that perfection with a perfection of faith. Did you hear what I said? We need to match his perfection with perfection of faith. That means unwavering. That means trusting completely. That means giving your life for. That means all in. And he is so good to us. Though we might want that, our weak and frail human structure, our weak and frail spirit, our weak and short-sighted judgment stops us from achieving that. But we praise him because he puts us through the furnace of affliction. He puts us through trials to cause us to develop perfect faith. Abraham had it. Isaac had it. Jacob had it. Jacob perfected it by wrestling with the angel. Remember that? That was the night he perfected faith. Okay? And he was tried more after that, thought he lost his son, that he was going to be the inheritance. Joseph was the firstborn, not of the 12 tribes. Joseph was the firstborn of the woman he loved, Rachel. That was her firstborn. And Joseph was receiving the blessing of the firstborn, not Reuben. And that's why you got Joseph with 2 tribes. He got a double blessing, Ephraim and Manasseh. Okay? And he thought he lost him. For 20 years, he thought he was dead. And he was going to trust in the Most High anyway. He thought he was dead. And the Most High brought him back. Jacob almost died from the news. If you remember, he almost fell out when they told him that Joseph was alive. He had to be revived when they told him his boy was alive. But that type of trial made Jacob perfect in faith. And brothers and sisters, you and I can't even tell you exactly all we're going to deal with and all we are dealing with, but you know what's going to be. That's why it's called a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation. Our faith must be perfected. And if we have that faith that's perfected, brothers and sisters, we won't be scared of anything. We won't. Okay? Because the grace and power given to us from our Father will cause us to overcome, no matter what it is. Okay? And as we are now awakening to the covenant of the Most High, we are now receiving protection. Okay? The unfortunate brothers and sisters that are out here suffering still, it's because they're not under the covenant anymore. That's why, brothers and sisters, listen to me carefully. Your family, your loved ones, the ones that are ignorant to the truth that you know, you must pray for them people. You must pray for their protection, because under your blessing, because you with the Most High, he'll bless your family if you put your prayers and intercede for them the way Messiah intercedes for us. You hear me? Got to intercede for them so they receive protection. Because many people are out here running without protection because they don't know who they are yet. They're not awakening. They're not receiving this truth. They're without protection. They're naked. But he's going to protect his own, his chosen. Now is the time. It's because we're awakening. We're understanding who we are. Now is the time. The last plague of the 7 last plagues is the return of the Messiah. That's the plague. You know, people don't realize that. The 7th plague of the 7 plagues, the 7 last plague, the 7th plague is Messiah's return. Why is it called a plague? Well, brothers and sisters, these are only plagues to the lost souls. These are only plagues to the oppressors. These are only plagues to those that are receiving the mark in their right hand or their forehead. These are only plagues to those that want to support Babylon. They're not plagues to the Israelites. Okay? In fact, it's the opposite. What's a plague to them is a blessing for us, and vice versa. Our blessing and our inheritance is a problem for them. Okay, it's a problem. But let's look at Revelation chapter 16, because the 144,000 in Revelation chapter 18, they're giving a message that's telling the brethren to come out from Babylonian worship, come out from among Babylon, and stop worshiping their gods. Stop worshiping men and women and celebrities and stars. Stop worshiping astrology. Stop worshiping Christianity and all these churches that are man-made, based in Gog and Magog. Still come out from among them, because Revelation 18 says, because the plagues are coming and you don't want to receive the plagues. That's what Revelation 18 is saying. Now, the last plague is the return of the Messiah. Okay, Revelation chapter 16, verse 17 down to verse 21. Revelation chapter 16, from chapter 16, verse 17 down to verse 21. Actually, I'm going to start at verse 16 down to verse 21. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. Armageddon. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven, from the throne, saying, "It is done." And there were voices and thunders and lightnings. And there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of Babylon fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before Yah, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed Yah because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. You see, brothers and sisters, Messiah, when he was on the cross, said it is finished. And Father saying the seventh plague is finished. What was all that? You see, some people, especially the Christians, like to say all the work was completed on the cross. It's all done. He said it was finished. If that was the case, why would the Father have to say it was finished later? Messiah said it is finished because his sacrifice for sin was finished. His sacrifice for sin was accomplished. He's only going to shed his blood once, the Bible said, and that was accomplished. He'll never have to shed his blood again. He said, "I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore." Amen. And had the keys of hell and of death. That's Revelation chapter 1. So he said, it is finished. His death was accomplished. But that wasn't salvation accomplished. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 15, if he had died but wasn't resurrected, we're all dead. If he died and none of us, and there was no resurrection, we'd all be dead. So that it's not only that we need his death, we need his resurrection. See, we need his death and we need his resurrection. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I'm going to start at verse 12 down to verse 18. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 from 12 to 18. Watch this. Now, if Messiah be preached that he rose from the dead, how say some among you that there is no resurrection of the dead? But if there be no resurrection of the dead, the Messiah is not risen. And if Messiah is not risen, then your preaching vain. Then our preaching is vain, and your faith is also vain. Yea, and we are found false witnesses of Yah, because we have testified of Yah that he raised up Messiah, whom he raised not up, if so be that the dead rise not. For if the dead rise not, then is not Messiah raised. And if Messiah be not raised, your faith is vain, ye are yet in your sins. Then they also which are fallen asleep in Messiah are perished. So when Messiah said it was finished, salvation wasn't finished on the cross. His death was accomplished. He still needed to be resurrected from the dead. Not just that, after he was resurrected from the dead, he had to become what? Our high priest. So if he died and he was resurrected, but we had no high priest, we'd still be lost. Hebrews chapter 4. Hebrews chapter 4. Beginning at verse 14 and going down to verse 16. Hebrews chapter 4 from verse 14 to verse 16. Seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Yahushua, the son of Messiah, the son of Yah, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that ye may what? Obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. So if Messiah said it was finished at the cross, that meant that all salvation was finished, and he didn't resurrect, we'd be lost. But if he resurrected and he wasn't our high priest, we would not obtain mercy. We need him as our high priest to obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. And wait a minute. If he didn't come back and get us, no flesh would be saved. That's what the Bible says. If he didn't come back and get us, so you need all of those things, plus the resurrection, for it to be complete. That's why when you hear the Father say from the throne in Revelation chapter 16, it is done. It's done. That's when it's done. What Messiah was saying was his death was accomplished. I am he that liveth and was dead. And behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death. Now look at this. Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24, beginning at verse 20. Matthew chapter 24, beginning at verse 20 and going down to verse 22. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. Except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Shortened by the return of Messiah. So we need all of these elements for us to be completely saved, for us to be completely safe, for sin to be no more. Until then, we're in a war. And the Bible says, until the end of the war, desolations are determined. That's what the Bible says. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Okay? So brothers and sisters, we need strong faith in this war. The shield of faith, that we can beat back all the fiery darts of the wicked. We got to understand who we are and awaken to who we are and get into the covenant with Yah. That is obedience to his covenant from perfect spirit of righteousness. Therefore, we will have what? His protection. Always in the word, his obedient people have his protection. The only time they didn't have his protection is when they were disobedient and he withdrew his protection. And we have experienced that in the United States of America for 400 years. We know all about the withdrawal of the protection. We know all about it. But I'm telling you all right now, as we awaken to this truth, and as we believe in the Most High, and we believe his word, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. And every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment, thou shalt condemn. Because this is, wait, let's look at that scripture, man. Let's look at that scripture. Let's get to Isaiah right now. Isaiah, first let's stop at chapter, that's Isaiah 54. That's Isaiah 54. Isaiah chapter 54. Isaiah 54. Then we're going to come back to 51. Isaiah chapter 54. Notice what it says. Let's see what it is. Yeah. Okay. Isaiah 54 from verse 15 to verse 17. We're going to go right now into 51. But let's start here, 54. We're going to come back here too in a couple of weeks. Behold, they shall surely gather together, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee, that is you Israelites, shall fall for thy sake. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. And every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh. And their righteousness, that is the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, says Yahweh. There it is. There's the whole thing right there. There's protection. There's righteousness by faith. There's the whole thing. It's all over the Bible. It's all over the place. When your eyes are open, you see it all over the place, brothers. You see it in all the prophets. Okay? Isaiah 51. So last week, we talked about standing alone. We talked about standing alone last week. Remember that? From Isaiah 50? We talked about standing alone. Today, we're talking about heritage, what we have inherited, part of our history. See, brothers and sisters, it is a beautiful thing. We inherited oppression and cruelty, right? At the hands of Gog and Magog. At the hands of Gog and Magog. We have inherited oppression and cruelty because of the sins of our fathers. But that's not the end of the story, praise Yah. No, we are at the end of the story now when we have inherited what? An awakening. The spirit of righteousness. A kingdom that's going to last forever. We have inherited protection from the Most High. We have inherited righteousness, perfect righteousness. Brothers and sisters, this is our heritage. This is who we are. We ain't inherit no daggone Confederate flag. Let them inherit that. We ain't inherit no land or at the point of guns and money and power, at the point of oppression and affliction and death and murder. Let them inherit that. That's Asatan's kingdom. In Asatan's kingdom, you get yours however you could get yours. You hear? That's Asatan's kingdom. You get, see, all of these people in power right now, they want you to think that they worked hard and they went to school and they just put themselves up by their bootstraps and that's how they inherited everything they have. Bull crap. In Satan's kingdom, you got to crack some heads. For you to get ahead, you got to step on some people. For you to get ahead, you can't have no mercy. In Satan's kingdom. And you get it by hook or by crook. In Satan's kingdom. And you and I both know there are people that sell their mother for $1. You and I both know that. Sell their mother for $1. Sell their children. That's Satan's kingdom. That's the world. That's the world right there. That's the world. But in Yah's kingdom of righteousness, everybody wins. All his servants win. There are no losers in Yah's kingdom. The person that wants to sleep in the woods can sleep in the woods and never starve to death. Never stink. Clothes never get old. You can dwell safely in the woods. The person that wants to build a huge house for himself could build it and inhabit it. You want vineyards? You can grow it. And the fruit's going to be eternal. The water? You ain't got to worry about Detroit-style water or Michigan, what they put out there in Michigan. I forgot the name of that city where they got the dirty water like DC and they ain't cleaning it and giving it to the brothers and sisters filled with iron and lead and such. But no, you ain't got to worry about that. You drink the water in the kingdom. Anybody could drink it. Not only that, you don't even pay. Listen, you don't pay no water bill. You ain't got to buy bottled water in the kingdom. Because when you drink the water, the river of life, it gives power. It's water that gives life. See, everybody wins in Yah's kingdom. There are no losers. Even the servants win. They ain't going to have chattel slavery the way they suffered us to have chattel slavery. Not going to be like that in the kingdom. Even the persons that's the servants are blessed in the kingdom. Yes, man. Everybody that's in the kingdom is blessed. All right. But in this world, you can have a person on the 100th floor of a luxury building. And at the bottom floor in the street, somebody's starving and ain't got no place to stay. In this world, you can have a man with enough wealth to pay an athlete $500 million. And you can have whole nations of people starving. That's the way this world operates. That's the way this kingdom is. In this kingdom, you get yours and I'll get mine. That's the way this kingdom operates. Okay? But that's not Yah's kingdom. And Yah's servants know better. Isaiah chapter 51. Our heritage. Hearken unto me, verse 1 says, ye that follow after righteousness, ye that seek Yahweh. Look unto the rock whence ye are hewn, and the hole of the pit whence ye are digged. What's that mean? He said, first of all, you that follow after righteousness. And listen, when the Most High talks about righteousness, obviously, he's talking about his righteousness. This is not man-made concepts of righteousness. This is not man's theory of righteousness. This is perfection of spirit, perfection of righteous character, perfection of holiness and truth. That's what our God is. And so when he's talking about righteousness, he's talking about his perfection of righteousness, his own. And he's seeking people that are looking for that, following that. That's his chosen. That's his chosen. Again, see, that's masked righteousness by faith right there. It's the same thing. That's righteousness by faith. Ye that follow after righteousness. Okay? Ye that seek Yahweh. Those that seek the truth are seeking the spirit of righteousness. And again, why do we seek the spirit of righteousness? Let me make this clear again. We're seeking the spirit of righteousness so we can render obedience. Without Yah's spirit of righteousness, we cannot properly render obedience. Okay? We can only render obedience when we are filled with Yah's spirit of righteousness. I'm talking about obedience that he accepts, not a righteousness by works. That's man-made, that people try to force on people. Whenever somebody say, all of us need to wear this, or all of us need to go here, be careful. Look unto Abraham your father, and Sarah that bare you. For I called him alone, and blessed him, and increased him. We're talking about standing alone, right? He said, look unto Abraham. That's where you come from. That's where you come from. See, if them Ashkenazis out there lying and claiming they're the children of Abraham, if they were really the children of Abraham, they would act like Abraham. They would have the faith of Abraham. Let me tell you something. You take one of them dry bone, long beard with black hats on. You take one of them stand next to a true Hebrew. Man, you see the difference. The power is with the Hebrew, the true Hebrew. You take one of them brothers that's even them brothers standing in the street with the Bibles preaching with them funny uniforms on. Them dry bone Ashkenazis can't stand next to them brothers. They can't. They look like what they are, fake. Because that's the truth right there. They may be wearing some fancy, crazy hats on or stuff on their wrists or whatever they putting on. But even they're the bloodline, them other people ain't. That's Abraham's children. For I called him alone and blessed him and increased him. Again, brothers and sisters, we talked about this last week. All of us who are going to be redeemed in these last days are going to have to take a stand for the truth by ourselves. All of us. I don't care who you are. And you ain't got it ain't gonna be something that you got to try to do. You're gonna be placed in a situation where you're going to have to stand for the truth. Somebody's gonna ask you, somebody that didn't know you was an Israelite, somebody didn't understand that you were no longer a Christian, somebody maybe from your former Christian church. What are you following? What church you going to? And you got to stand firm and tell them who you are. I'm an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of the southern kingdom of Judah. And they're going to look at you like you're crazy. And you know how them church people are. What they like to do in them churches. Come on now. Y'all know the truth. What they do in them churches. They the number one gossip factories on planet Earth. The Star, the Tribune ain't got nothing on church people when it comes to gossip. You understand? So you know they're going to talk about you. But if you're scared of some people talking about you, how you going to stand on pain of death for the truth? You know what I'm saying? You can't be worried about that stuff. You got to be way past that stuff. See, that's low-level stuff. That ain't nothing. What are you going to do when they decide to come to your house and the sheriff comes and say, get out? We have a summons that you got to vacate this premise. He said, but I paid my rent. Now you can't pay anything. You're not allowed to buy or sell. Get out. What you gonna do then? You better have learned to stand long before that. The athletes that compete in the Olympics, they don't wait till the Olympics to get ready. They've been getting ready for years. So when it comes time for them to compete in their Olympics, they're prepared. They're prepared by sweat, by hard work, by thousands of hours of practice, by eating properly and being abstemious and sacrifice just for however long, like if it's 100 meters, just for 9 seconds, 10 seconds, 11 seconds. Okay? That's them in the world. What kind of preparation are we going to need to stand in a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation? What kind of faith do we need to develop to not flinch in the face of death? To not be scared of anything except disappointing Father? No, we got to be in training today. That's why the Father puts us in training today. The moment you surrender to Him, you are in training. You need to recognize that. The moment you surrender to the Father, He loves you. He puts angels of protection around you. He's going to bless you and take care of you, even in Babylon. But now you're in training. Training of faith. Training in His Word. Training getting to know your God. Getting to understand Him, to know who He is. And your relation to Him. For Yahweh shall comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places. He will make her wilderness like Eden, and her desert like the garden of Yahweh. Joy and gladness shall be found therein. Thanksgiving and the voice of melody. See, that's the kingdom. That's the kingdom. Hearken unto me, my people, and give ear unto me, O my nation. I want you to notice what he said there. Really, I want you to notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, hearken unto me, O my people, and give ear, O my church. Did he say that? Did y'all read that? Did he say, hearken unto me, O my church? Is he saving a denomination? No. According to this, he's saving what? A nation. Where is this nation located? It's scattered to the four corners of the earth. His people are not on their land. As a matter of fact, they're the only people on planet Earth that don't know where their land is right now. Everybody, you get refugees coming from Muslim countries running from Taliban. You get people from Central America running from corrupt governments funded by the U.S. government. You get people running from drug wars in Mexico. When they come to the United States, or when they come to the UK, or when they come to Germany, you ask them, what country are you from? They'll tell you, from Pakistan. And they'll tell you proudly, I'm from Afghanistan. I'm from Nicaragua. I'm from El Salvador. I'm from Angola, Cameroon, Ghana. They'll tell you where they're from. But you ask the ADOS, where you from? I'm American. You ask the ADOS, I'm from somewhere in Africa. They're the only ones that don't know where they're from. There's a reason for that. Because we're not from any of these places. We're from Israel. We're from Abraham. He's the rock from which we came. Look unto the rock, he said, for whence ye are hewn. That means you carved out of that rock that was formed, that was Abraham. The pit where you had digged, Sarah, that bare you. Sarah had Isaac, and from Isaac had twin boys. One was Edom, the other was Jacob, and from Jacob, the whole 12 tribes, brothers and sisters, the whole 12 tribes. That's who we are. And we're scattered. Give ear unto me, O my nation, for a law shall proceed from me, and I will make my judgment to rest for a light of the people. My righteousness is near, and my salvation is gone forth, and mine arms shall judge the people. The isles shall wait upon me, and on my arm shall they trust. Yes, brothers and sisters. Notice he said, his righteousness, right? His salvation. See, brothers and sisters, all the false gods offer their own brand of righteousness and salvation. White Jesus has his own brand of righteousness and salvation. Buddha has his. Vishnu has his. Muhammad and Allah have theirs. They all have them. But there's only one true God. There's only one. And he has one true people that he has actually spoken to, that he actually handed his covenant to them on stone so that it would never be broken. That's Yah. That's why he distinguishes. He says, my righteousness is near. My salvation is going forth. This is our heritage. One more verse. Lift up your eyes to the heavens and look upon the earth beneath. For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment, and they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. You see, that's why we must trust in Yah, in his righteousness, in his salvation. It's forever. If we put that in us, guess what we will be? Forever. Praise the Most High Yah. Praise the Most High Yah. Brothers and sisters, the Bible says, hearken unto Yah, follow after righteousness, seek Yahweh, look to the rock from which you are hewn, look to the hole of the pit which you are digged. Abraham and Sarah, look where they stood by themselves. They followed the Most High regardless of who was following with them. And he blessed them. His righteousness is forever. His salvation is forever. His righteousness shall not be abolished. Brothers and sisters, this is our heritage. This is our heritage. Praise the Most High Yah.